Hi guys, I just wanted to record a little video for you. First to say hi and introduce myself. It's nice to sort of show myself to you and let you see who I am. But also I wanted to take a minute and take some time to describe the first essay assignment a little bit more to you. I know that an assignment sheet might not always be enough to sort of really get a good idea of what's expected of you, so I wanted to talk a little bit in the hopes that that will help clarify some of what you should be doing for this assignment. So if you don't have your assignment sheet out, please take a minute and pause this video, go ahead and grab it, then come back so that you can follow along with me as I go forward. So in my face-to-face classes, I always take as much time as possible to talk about the assignments. It's probably the most important thing for you guys to understand what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how you should be doing it. So let's talk about this. So take out your sheet and let's look. As you can see, we have 3 due dates for this assignment: a draft 1, a draft 2, and a final draft. Now, the idea behind having that many drafts is that that's the writing process, right? We never ever come out with something perfect the first time we write it. We need practice, right? We need to explore ideas. So that's what our first draft is. Our first draft I call an exploratory draft. What I mean by that is that you've been given a question, you've been given a prompt and some readings, and your first draft is sort of thinking your way through, exploring. So when I read your first draft or when you read each other's first drafts, we know that that's where we're at. We don't have solid finalized ideas. We're just sort of thinking through some stuff. Maybe we're not even totally sure if we agree with it. That's fine. That's the whole point of writing, right? Writing helps us engage a second aspect of our minds so that we can think through things. So we come up with this exploratory draft, then we have some time before we get to our second draft. And our second draft is where we're more sure on our ideas, but we're still working on some other aspects of our writing. This might be sort of solidifying structure, might be working on sentences, might be working on paragraphing, topic sentences, whatever it is. So first draft, exploring ideas. Second draft, our ideas are solid, but we're working more on laying the paper out. And then our third draft is where we get into that editing phase. Our ideas are solid, we've got it laid out the way we want. Now we're really polishing and cleaning the paper. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense until the final draft to work on those little things like commas and semicolons, because if you're going to delete the whole paragraph anyway because you figured out it's a tangent, then you've just done all that grammar and editing work for nothing. So do not work on any of that stuff until the very last stages of the paper. So that's just sort of some things to think about as you're drafting. As you go into draft 1, just remember exploring ideas, thinking through things. So let's look at this assignment question. I'm going to read it, and if you guys can just follow along with me. In the introduction to the betrayal of work, Beth Schulman says that if we honor work, we must reward it. She says that for generations, Americans shared a tacit understanding that if you worked hard, a livable income and basic securities were to be yours. That promise has been broken, and as a nation, we are living a lie, which is a pretty bold statement, right? So I want you guys to think about if you agree with her there. Have promises been broken? Are we living a lie? Those are big questions to ask yourself when it comes to work, especially living in America, a society built so strongly on work. So for this essay, your job is to discuss the ways in which Americans today view work and whether or not, as a democratic society, they have the responsibility to ensure what Schulman refers to as a reasonable degree of equality for all American workers. So is it our responsibility to make sure that there is this reasonable degree of equality? Can it even be achieved in a capitalistic society, right, that treasures the free market? Is it possible to offer equality and also value capitalism? Consider whether capitalism still provides people with the opportunity to achieve the American dream. As you write this paper, think of the goals of the employees and the goals of the employers and how differing economic climates affect both parties, right? So everybody has different interests. So try to put yourself in the shoes of both sets of people, and then how different economic situations change those interests, right? Putting people in different places. So consider whether it is possible, given today's shifting economy, to provide workers in all tiers of work a livable and basic security. Also, consider who suffers the most in this market and how responsible are employers and the American people to make changes. Those are a lot of parties to consider. In your paper, discuss what changes, if any, can be made and how you see their feasibility. So, what this paper is asking you to do is to take a stance, right? I think that these changes are feasible because blah, blah, blah. Or, I agree with this author in this way, but I think she's missing the point in this way. So your job is first to figure out, what do you think about this question, this topic? Take a stance on that. Then you need to come up with some solid reasoning as to why you believe that. And you're going to pull on the readings in order to do that. So I'll record another video maybe in a couple days that sort of works on or talks about us using evidence to support what we're saying. But the goal of any academic writing is to really be careful to make sure that you're not just saying an idea because it popped into your head. That's part of what, being in higher education is all about, just coming up with ideas. But then it's your goal to go and see what proof is out there. Maybe you find support, maybe you don't. If you don't, you change your mind a little bit until you find something that actually supports and proves your theory, your hypothesis. It's a little bit like the scientific method, but you're putting it into writing. So your job is to do that. And how do we do that? We do that with our readings. Sure, personal experience can play a role in convincing somebody of your point, right? But the reality is that personal experience can sometimes be a one-off. Oh, it happened to my grandma. Well, that doesn't necessarily convince me that it applies to all American people, right? So if you are going to ever use personal experience, use it sparingly and then tie it to something that's in the literature or tie it to something that's in current events, right? Really bring it in so that it makes sense and it's solid. So those are the things you want to think about as you're moving into this draft. Make yourself a list. Here's my stance, and I believe it, or I came up with this idea because of point A, point B, and point C, right? So these are the 3 reasons to support my main idea. And where did I get those 3 reasons? Well, Beth Schulman said X and said Y, and those things support point A. You see what I'm saying? If you have questions about that, please email me and we can talk a little bit further or set up a Skype session or whatever might work to help you think through your structuring and plotting of your essay. So the other things you need to think about for your assignment are following directions, right? So go back to your syllabus, look at how to format your paper, look at how to upload your paper, and then look on the assignment sheet at the requirements that you have. So you must use Beth Schulman's 2 readings, right, from The Betrayal of Work. Now, The Betrayal of Work is a book title, so that should be italicized. If you're ever going to mention the chapter titles, which you certainly don't have to, they would be in quotation marks, right? Quotation marks used for articles, and italics are used for books. So you can also, but do not have to use, sorry, that was my cat. You can also, but you don't have to use Bell Hooks's article from Seeing and Making Culture. Remember again, Seeing and Making Culture is the book title, and then she has a chapter or article title within that, which should be formatted in quotation marks. Go back to OWL at Purdue. That will tell you all about those small formatting issues. So your first draft, what you're turning in for the exploratory draft, must be a minimum of 3 pages. Your second draft must be 3, but no more than 4. And your final draft must be 3, but no more than 4. So you must use MLA parenthetical citations throughout the body of your paper, and you must include a works cited page. If you're not sure how to format that, again, go back to OWL at Purdue. Super, super useful website. Has everything you need right there. So get very, very familiar with it so that you are using your time in the most efficient way that you can when you visit that site. What else is on here that I need to show you? yeah, check the syllabus. There are some policies on late drafts and late final papers. It's good to know that and be sure that you're clear. And then, of course, the Writing Center is always available for you to use. They're really fabulous. They help you out a lot. They may even have some online appointments, so that could be really useful, some chat appointments. I'm not sure, but you can check that out. And if you don't know where to find them, I can help point you in that direction. So I hope that this little video gives you guys some information about what's expected of you for this first paper. It might clear up a couple of questions. Again, I'll try to do another video where we talk a little bit more about structuring and setting up papers. But email me if you have any questions, and I look forward to seeing your first drafts.